Well, welcome everybody. This is Agent Wealth Network, where we help agents and real estate brokers to increase their business and increase their wealth. Today, we really have someone special here, a man that not only is a real estate agent, but a man that has heart, that his family are his prized possessions, if you will. Just an incredible man. His name is Juan Sastoque. And Juan, he's been in real estate for 10 years. He's done over, like in a year, he closes over 80 transactions. He's done over $20 million of business. We call him, some of us call him, an icon agent. And what he really is, though, is, besides this lots of heart, that he's a master conversationalist. And he has some of the highest lead conversion ratios in the country. And we're going to find out about how he does that. And so, Juan, welcome. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Doctor. I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's just really an honor to have you here. I just love a master conversationalist. You know, I just love that.
I don't know about that title.
Well, that's just because you're such a kind man with such an open heart. And I must share with everybody before we get into the nitty gritty and you help us with, real specifics on like how you prepare in the morning and everything for your calls and how you are such a master at that I wanted to share with everybody I asked for Juan's bio. And so most people, when they send it over, they tell me about all the millions they've done and, how good they are and everything. But Juan, his bio, he goes, my bio, and then it's double space. So it's my bio, like double space. Married for 13 years, wife Bettina. Then Logan, 19 years old. Sebastian, 12 years old. And Ava, 7 years old. And that, my friend, is just precious. and who are those people to you?
Oh, man, that's the family. It's the reason why I do everything I do.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. And, I'd also like to I'd look back a little on how you started real estate so people can understand on how you haven't always been on the summit of the mountain, if you will. And I believe you started in '08. And of course, that's about the worst time anybody could start in real estate, all the history of real estate. And so can you tell us a little background on kind of how you started and then how you transitioned into really being this master in converting leads to closes?
Yeah, so I'll make a long story short on that. I started out playing soccer professionally. That's what I did for a living. So what do you do when you're a professional athlete? You go into coaching. It's what you know best if you're going to enter the real world, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to coach, and I built basically built a club, a lot like Wilco. Built my club. And found the same thing out that Wilco did, which was I am coaching everybody else's kids, but I'm really not seeing my own. And my stepson at the time was, 4 going on 5. I didn't see him quite as much as I would like. We knew we wanted 2 more. This lifestyle wasn't going to cut it. So then we made a 2-year plan to get out of that soccer business into real estate. So we transitioned over. It was a 2-year transition, and Bettina got her license first, and I transferred over. And I took on some extra jobs for her to learn how to do the craft of real estate and learn that. And we started in '08. And what's funny about that is I still remember the very first meeting. Like as soon as I got my license, the first thing I did was I went to the broker's office. They were having a meeting. All right, let's find out what real estate's all about. I did the theory. I passed the test. Now let's give this a go. So I'm sitting down there. It was with Remax at the time. And he's hollering and raving in the whole 9 yards. Hands in the air. He's making a big deal. He's like, we got to change the way we're doing business. This isn't working. You guys got to do, all sorts of stuff. And I'm listening. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? Right? But, obviously, I had an idea of what he was talking about. In the newspaper, every bank was failing, right? Every bank was going under. And so anyway, this was the transitioning happening right when I got into the business. So then here we go. Bettina and I start out in '08, basically working together. We started working. What you typically start working when you don't know better is your warm and hot market, right? I had a database from soccer, so I built some friendships up and things like that. So I asked them for the business, and I stayed in touch with them. I tried to show them a different side of me from the real estate perspective.
Yeah.
And, so we're moving through the '08 market, very weird, not a weird market, but just a very, very strange market. People were scared. People were losing a lot. It was just kind of messy, very messy,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So we go through that, and as the market improves, our business grows. So we grow and we grow. And at one point, we asked our broker, well, why don't we mastermind with the top realtors in our office? And the broker said, well, I would, but nobody wants to share. And Bettina like, what? Nobody wants to share? Why? Like, you didn't invent the FISBO. You didn't invent the short sale. You didn't invent any of it. Like, you don't, anyways, that's how they felt. So, so then we started looking into a model where we could grow beyond ourselves. We were maxing out capacity and we wanted to scale bigger. And so you need to bring in more people. So then we started learning about the millionaire real estate model. So then we started studying that. We came over to Keller Williams for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And as we grew that, we built up to 85 transactions. We brought on buyers agents and things like that. And we worked with the agents and, worked with buyers and sellers. Yeah. And that's what we did. But about, I would say 2.5 years ago, what we realized was we didn't like the liability associated with that. There was more money, but it didn't justify the liability, the effort, the energy, and the time it took away from my family, which was a big deal.
Yeah.
So that's when we decided to scale back. And today, I'll share with you, I've got residual coming in. That's one aspect of it. And then I also do from about 25 to 40 transactions.
That's fantastic.
I pick and choose the people I want to work with.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. And I know you moved on because you found a way to get passive income, and we can maybe talk about that a little bit later on that. But and also you have stock, and so you really found a solution in order to have, most people have either a lot of money and very little time, which it kind of sounds like you were at, or they have, or they're at where they have lots of time and no money, which I think is a worse position to be in. And so when you have those, you basically now have developed these two, and to be able to have more time and more money, and specifically for agents to really help them on, because you are this master conversationalist and are able to convert these leads into closings. So could you share with us, let's get into the nitty gritty on what is your schedule like? How do you prepare for your calls and cold calls or whatever? And maybe we should start with, where do you get the list, first of all, in order to get those calls, and then from there, how you prepare for the calls?
That's a good question. Here's what I would say to that. I'm going to give you 2 pieces of advice that I stick to. These are the most, in my opinion, of what I see in real estate. It's the most important pieces of advice any realtor should know. Wow. And my coaches taught me this. I didn't invent this. This is anything. This is something that was taught to me. I internalized it. The more deals I did, the more I thought about it. And the more I thought about it, I said, wow, he's right. He is spot on right. He's not just almost right, close to, no, it is spot on. The 2 pieces of advice is this. There's so many things out there that you can get fire hosed on, right? But what real estate boils down to is 2 things. Number 1, my coach told me, real estate will boil down to saying the right thing at the right time. Now, that's a broad answer. I know how broad of an, you're like, okay, well, what's the right thing? Well, it depends on the conversation, right? But if you were to say, what thing should I study? You should be studying learning to say the right thing at the right time. So part of that is going to be the tactical side of learning scripts, right? Strategically, learn why those scripts make sense. What about that verbiage is so impactful that that's what the expert chose to use, right? Yeah. So from the tactical side, understand, you memorize the script, right? And then from the strategic side, try to understand what it is that they're saying behind that. What's the language of sales behind the entire thing? Super important. That's one. So again, that one thing was saying the right thing at the right time. The other side of the equation was the one who has the most real estate conversations has the most real estate business.
Wow.
Period. The end. Like, those statements are non-refutable. You can't argue with me. There's nothing. They can be cold leads, warm leads. It could be anybody, at your neighbor to the left, your neighbor to the right, your priest, you name it. It's anything you want it to be. But those are the realities of what real estate boils down to.
Wow, I just love it. Yeah.
And a lot of times, we overcomplicate it. Like I could walk out my front door, and if my neighbor's mowing his lawn to the left, I could go say hello, strike up a real estate conversation. It's that simple.
And so what would you say, just in that example, what would you say to that person that, it's the neighbor next door? What do you say?
So, the key is to be relevant, right? So you want to say things that are relevant. Like, let's go over what I would not say real quick. I wouldn't go over and say, hey, you want to sell your house? Like, how obnoxious is that, right? But what I would say is look at the season. Do something relevant to the season, right? So right now, as you know, Dr. Hank, everybody's getting their bill right now from the tax assessor, right?
Yeah.
And they're saying,
right.
and they're like, oh man, can I find? They have all sorts of questions about that, right? So what I might say right now, just to be relevant and provide an actual value, because we have to provide value, is I may be, hey man, how are you doing? And I just maybe say, hey man, just real quick, by any chance, did you get your assessment from the tax appraiser? Yeah, no, I got it. Hey, did you notice it a little high? Okay, well, just to let you know, a lot of my clients are calling me right now. They're asking me for comps, and I'm sending them into inboxes. And I'm also giving you the top 3 or 4 ways that you can visit with these people and share with them kind of what your argument may be.
Yes, that's fabulous. And so let me just kind of review that on those 2 things. So first of all, say the right things. And the way to do that is to understand a script. And so you have scripts, and we'll get to that in a minute. And but then to understand the strategy behind that, so you really can embrace it and it's meaningful. And I'd just like to add something onto that, because it's so important that we are typically, we're so concerned about what we're going to say or what we're going to say next.
Yeah.
And we're not allowing God to guide us. And so one of the ways that I help people is to help them think about and say, I want to be with my soul today, and I want to be guided by God, and God will give me the perfect words and everything. Now, I think the studying, though, understanding the script and all of that is right on, and then just to relax and know that God will take care of it. It's Christ said, the Father will do the work.
Right.
And so that's what it is. You just ask and you shall receive. So you've been asking, and now you're giving us really the answers on that. And so I think it's so appropriate and right on. Now, where do I get those scripts from?
Anyway, I did not invent those.
Yeah.
But let me give you a quick example. So if I were 18 and I were going to the prom and I wanted to ask this really cute girl to the prom, I would probably give her the generic question, hey, will you go to the prom with me? Right?
Right.
Now that I understand the language of sales, I would probably say something like this. Hey, let me ask you something. Are you considering going to the prom? She would probably say yes. Well, let me ask you something. If I could take you out and you can have the absolute best time, is that something that you would consider? She'll probably say yes. Well, tell me more about that. I'd like to know more about that. What would it take to be able to take you out to the prom? Wave a magic wand and let me know what it would take for me to be able to take you and you have the absolute best time, better than anyone that you'd be able to have a good time with. So, and I apply this kind of concept to my kids, to have better conversations with them.
Yeah.
And understanding that is in the strategy. It's not in the tactics. You're not going to use real estate lines on your family and I say that because my kids and my wife are the most important people in my family or in my life.
Right. Right.
So understanding the strategy behind what is said and how to say it and taking the time to understand why this sales script has this particular thing, in my opinion, is critical and it changes your life.
That's awesome, and I love your example of that, and I bet you taught Logan that when he was going to prom, how to get the best girl. And so, but again, so where can I get those scripts? Like, would you offer those scripts, or do we go somewhere? In fact, how do we get in contact with you, or do you want people to get in contact with you?
Sure, people can call me. I'm an open book. I'm easy to talk to. I love helping realtors. I think it's just great. I think it's just great. I just love helping them. It's a lot of fun actually for me.
That's awesome. And can you give us your contact information then?
Oh,
What
okay.
is
It's
that?
469
Okay,
231 1057.
that's fantastic. And then do you want the email, your email too?
Sure.
Okay,
Thanks,
good.
Dr. Hank. I appreciate you keeping this going. Yeah, it's Juan, Juan,
Okay,
at Home Star Sellers. Sellers is SELLERS.com.
that's fantastic. That's
And then
great.
my wife is Bettina at homestarsellers.com.
Yeah, and she rocks and rolls too. She's just amazing. And you guys
She's
make
awesome.
such a wonderful partnership. And really, you both just put tears in my eyes when I think about you. Just you're such a kind couple and amazing people. And so the scripts we could get from you. And so if agents or brokers want to, contact you, they could get the scripts from you. And so now we we understand that. And then where do you get these leads from? And
okay. So
everyone, yeah.
Yeah, so we use a CRM, right?
Okay.
Called Conversion.
Okay.
And here, I'll tell you. I'll tell you how I have it set up specifically.
Okay.
And I'm going on my phone right now to show you.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that by any chance?
Yeah, put it a little bit closer there. There. Okay, good. Yeah, there we go.
So that pings in my phone. Ping. Someone visited your houses or your website after downtime.
Wow.
And so it gives me their information, and so it pings in my phone. I go, oh, and I give them a quick call, and I see if I can help them or if they had an interest in learning about those houses.
I see. Fantastic. Great. And so Conversion is your CRM program that you have. And then can you share a little about how you prepare then for, like, I assume, like, when you get those leads, you just call them right back and you have the script that you could, share with us. But like, do you actually invest like a certain amount of time every day on cold calls or calling people leads, referrals, whatever? How do you do that?
Okay. So that's an interesting question. I think I lead generate maybe a little bit differently than a lot of other people.
Okay.
So as an example, here's a perfect example. Say I've got, over time, I've just developed a pool of investors. This is a perfect example, right? And then all of a sudden, I find out that there is an incentive in some sort of city that's helping out investors. And let's say I had 15 investors. I will call all those investors and just let them know, hey, I just found out about this incentive that they're trying to bring investors in to help the city grow or whatever the case may be. And I'll call all 15 of them, right?
Wow.
Here's another one. I found out through the city of Richardson, right by where I live, that they have a tax incentive program where if you buy a house, put $20,000 into the rehab, they'll give you back some money in a year. They'll literally cut you a check.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'll call anybody in my database who's ever thought about buying a house in Richardson, or even someone who lives in Richardson, right?
Yeah.
So the amount of people that live in Richardson, plus the amount of people who are thinking about living in Richardson, anyone at all in the entire database of mine that has thought about living in Richardson, you could reach out to them, and you can say that. And this is the key to this. This is so critical.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is give them this information, right? Make it a quick 2-minute phone call. Hey, do you have a minute? All I want to do is give you the information and get out. I don't want to do anything fancy. So I just want to call you, be like, hey, real quick, Dr. Hank, do you have just a minute, 2 minutes? Yeah, man, I got a minute. Okay, great. Hey, listen, I just wanted to let you know, in the city of Richardson, they're promoting this new program. And this is for anyone buying in the next year, and it's blah, 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 blah. And then they'll say probably something like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Yeah. So listen, I've got a big goal this year of growing my business and serving more people. Do you know anybody? And I'll probe in a little bit in your church group or in your son's soccer team, depending on what I know about them.
Sure.
In your son's soccer group, or that may be interested in buying a house that I can help and serve. Just take a second, and they may not know anybody, and that's fine. I don't need everyone to refer me every day.
Right, exactly. On cold calls, do you do some preparation? Like, have you been afraid in the past of making cold calls? I know a lot of agents out there and brokers have been, a little apprehensive. First of all, cold calls is a terrible name And right away, I don't want to do it. And so I call it opportunity calls. And so, to make it a little bit better. But on those, cold calls, if you will, that opportunity calls, that have you had fear about making those calls? And if so, how do you overcome that?
So good question. So the cold calls, when I make cold calls, I had a shift in my thinking about 2.5 years ago when I had my coach, Coach Paul. And I was doing the cold calls, and I was kind of nervous about it. It's not something that people are born saying to themselves, "Oh, this is what I want to do for a living," right? So it takes a little warming up and getting used to this concept. But then one day I met a guy. I got a call from a guy, or I didn't get a call. I got a lead, and I called him, and visited with him. And his name was Con Calamares. This is a banker from Australia. And he told me his life goal was to, or not his life goal, but his goal was to spend $1 million in the next 3 years. And so I'm like, well, this is a different call. I don't usually I don't talk to bankers from Australia and they're telling me their goals. So then I asked him, I said, well, tell me more about this. Like, I want to know. I don't even care if we work together. I just want to understand what it is you're doing.
Sure.
So his goal was basically to travel the world and have rental properties in each area of the world that he wanted to travel. So he was going to take the cash flow from the properties and he was going to use them as write-offs on the same token, right? I guess that's my basic understanding of what he was going to do. So I'm like, well, that's so cool. And he identified, the Dallas-Fort Worth market as one of the best markets to purchase in. So, okay, it's reasonable. So when I got off that call and I thought about it, I kept thinking about it. I said to myself, I didn't know this guy and I didn't want to call him. Probably one of the most interesting people I've met in a while, right? And then it just occurred to me that there are more interesting people that I don't know than people that I do know. The people I do know, I know for certain where they're at. I kind of have an idea where they're at. But the people I don't know outside, they're more interesting.
Right.
So why am I not willing to have a wonderful conversation with these people, regardless of if a deal comes?
Right? That's great. Yeah. So the mindset was, hey, I want to just meet these fascinating, interesting people.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's one thing I would say. The other thing I have is a big tool belt. So I have for instance, I can help, as an example, any buyer. 580 credit score, 600, VA, FHA, conventional. There is, I know, what's it called? Loan officers who can do portfolio loans, foreign nationals. You name it, they can do it. Yeah. So what that does for me is that gives me a lot of confidence, because if you even whisper that you're thinking about buying a home, boy, surely I can help you. Zero down, no problem. You got that? No problem. No problem. Like, I can help anyone. You just have to just whisper it, and I'm like, I'm on it, right?
Yeah, I love that. So could agents call you and actually get some of those contact information?
Oh, absolutely. Now, as you know, a lot of them are going to be local. That's local. Right. You may find that to be local. It depends. I mean, I'll give you the contacts of my loan officers, but if someone's from out of state, they may have to do a little bit of research.
Sure. So I love that.
Let me say this. Yeah. Every realtor is going to relate to this. Most realtors that are listening to this do not like going out for breakfast or lunch to loan officers that want their business, right? I actually enjoy it. And one of my top questions is, well, what kind of loans can you do? Tell me about your portfolio loans. You don't have any. Ooh. Okay. Tell me what you have in your tool belt that I can bring to my buyers.
Fantastic.
So my tool belt is big. I've got a big tool belt that I can use.
Yeah, for buyers. And then what about for people that want to sell their house? Do you have a tool belt for that?
So the tool belt for that really is going to be, what I have noticed the biggest key to the sellers is really understanding their motivation, when they want to sell, and then why they want to sell. The tool belt with the sellers doesn't necessarily need to be as big. A lot of times you can have the perfect script, but if they're not motivated, your script is not worth anything. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So the skill set is, one, being likable, creating a relationship, and then understanding, am I here at the right time? Is this the right time for them? Or is it not the right time? Yeah. That's really, I think, where the skill set is. That's where the art comes into the science. The art part is, am I here at the right time? Should I push? Should I back off? And just kind of, feeling it out.
That's great. And what are those two questions again? What do you ask the people that list, just so they can write that down?
Oh, the people that list, it's very
Yeah.
simple. Is I want to know when you want to sell.
Uh-huh.
So I want to sell in June. The next thing I'm listening for is a compelling reason, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I want a compelling reason. Like, it better be a good reason. Well, I just want to see what I can get from my house. That's not a good seller,
Yeah.
Well, I'm having twins, and we've got a 2-bedroom house, and I need a 4. That's a compelling reason,
Yeah, that's
It needs
bad.
to be a compelling reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have scripts then? Can you tell us a little about the scripts on with buyers and sellers on how to, I assume you have scripts for it all. Is that correct? On whether you're cold calling or whatever. Can you tell us a little about those scripts?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about the strategy side of it. This is very important. And the reason I talk about the strategy versus the tactical side was because one of my biggest failures as I was failing forward in the process, and God bless me, I had a wonderful coach, and I kept going back to him, and he'd be like, well, tell me what you said. And then I'd be like, well, I said this. And then what did he say? And we went back and forth. He'd be like, Juan, no. Here's how this works, right? And what I realized was this. One of my big aha moments was this. When you go through the script, that's the tactical side, right? But the reality is, a lot of times, the seller is going to ignore what you just said and may not want to answer your question, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I walk into a clothing store, and everybody knows this in sales, right? They ask you, hey, can I help you? No, thanks, right? Well, of course you needed help, right?
Right.
But you still say that. It's the initial reaction. They're going to bypass what you said just because. I don't have the science behind it, just because. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I realized was that I needed to close 4 times. So in the conversation, I needed to say it 4 times. Boom, 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 boom. And I wouldn't. When I first started, I would say it once, and I'd be like, well, that's what the script said to do, so that's what I did. But then my coach told me, he's like, no, well, you're going to have to say it again, and you may just change the phrase a little bit. Change the phrase a little bit and say it again. Close again, close again, go for a close again. Give some information, close again. So even before I go, because I can give you, there's so many different, like, you can go on YouTube and find every script you want. TomFerry.com, Brian Ruffini, Mike Ferry. There are so many different people that, as a matter of fact, I'll say this, the scripts that they have are better than the ones I have, and the scripts that they have are the ones I use. So you don't even need the script from me. Just go on. They're all free. People are giving them away for free.
Sure. Got it.
And so, that's really the deal, is that you just have to stay in the conversation, be likable, create a rapport, and then work through the conversation, and then close a few times to get the result that you need.
Okay, great. So that strategy, is there more strategy? 4 times, and again, asking. So using the close analogy so do you say, do you change up the question a little bit more on the close?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, so if I said, hey, so, when would be a good time where I can come over and we can visit about this? Yeah. And you just said, well, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Well, let me ask you something. If you were, looking to sell, since you told me you're looking to sell, what are you looking for in a realtor? Because I want to apply for the job. What would I need to do in order to get this job or to apply for it? And you see, those questions, they're very real questions.
Right.
They're not like floofy, it's just real. Like, what would I have to do to apply for the job? And I want to show some heart. The reason I have like what I call real questions is because I want to show you, like, I'm just a real guy. I'm just on the other side of this phone. I'm just working. I got 3 kids. They need to go to school. They have private, activities I got to pay for them, just like you, dude.
Right.
And so my goal is really to work in such a way that you'll refer me business.
Awesome.
And these are things I say. I say my goal is to work for you in such a way that you'll refer me business, and I know I have to earn that.
Wow.
So I go ahead and
other hard things, other hard comments, statements that you use?
It just depends on really how the phone call is going.
But it's being authentic. Is that right? Like
it's being authentic. Yeah. What I will tweak is I will mirror, the technique of mirroring. Like if you have if you talk very slowly, I will slow down. If you talk very quickly, then I'll speed right. If you're from New York City, we got to talk fast. We got to talk fast. We got to get the wheel done. You know?
Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, so I will mirror because I think that's important. People like to work with people kind of similar to them. So that I think I can provide that. I think I can do that.
Oh, okay, great, great.
So you do it.
And we talked a little previously about like people being worried, agents being worried about what do I ask next, and so how do you manage? What's the strategy behind that? Because what we're finding from you is that really the strategy, and once you understand the strategy, the words can flow a lot easier. And like
there you go. I'm so glad you said that.
Yes. And so how do I know what to say next? What's the strategy that you use as far as what do I say next?
Okay, so what you say next, I mean, I'm not 100% sure what would say next because it depends on what you say first. What you say first depends on what I say next, right? But ultimately, here's what you need to know about the strategy side. The strategy side is to provide a service in such a way that you're going to refer me business. In order for that to happen, I have to provide a high value to you, right? You may use me, but referring me is a higher standard, right? And that's the highest standard. The highest compliment we can get is when we are referred. So my goal is not only to work with you, but work with you in such a way that you'll refer me business. Right?
And I love that concept because that really keeps it going there. It's just not about them.
Yes.
And they understand what you're in it for too. It's not only to serve them, but that you want to do so good that they'll refer you. And that's
Absolutely.
really, that right there just, rang to me. And I went like, oh yeah, that's, a godly thought, if you will.
Right.
That's fantastic.
And it's so important that you say these things to cold leads too. Like you don't just say these to your warm leads, your hot leads. You say this to everyone. I'll tell you this, Dr. Hank, this is super important. There are days I don't want to get up and call people. Like, it happens. Like, I just don't feel like it. And at the moment that I say what I'm going to tell you I say, I'm not even that motivated, right?
Right.
I tell them that I'm excited for them, okay? Now, at the moment, I'm not necessarily that excited. Like, maybe I just woke up and I had a long night and, whatever, right? Had a few drinks with my wife. We went out or whatever, and I'm not feeling that great then, but whatever. And so here I am making calls. I probably don't feel like making them, but I'm making them. And I'm on the phone, and I'll tell them, I'm so excited for you. This is going to be so exciting. Now, the moment before I say that, I'm probably not that excited, but I owe them, in my opinion, my own philosophical. I believe I owe it to them to be excited for them.
Yes.
What I want to be known for when I do business with people, I've thought a lot about this. I want to be excited for them. I want them to sense my excitement for them, right? I want them to think that they're going to have a good time. I want to have a good time. I want them to have a good time. And I want it to be just joyful. One of our goals is to have a seamless transaction, smoothness, right? So we can focus on the fun side, the positive side of everything that's happening, right?
Wow.
And sometimes, you're selling someone into divorce, and that's not always super fun. Sometimes it's just more being sensitive. Like, I won't say I'm excited if that's happening, but I'll let them know that we can do it. We've done it in the past, and we can help them with their goals,
Yeah. The beautiful word that you use there is excitement, because we're really all energy, if you will. Even our thoughts, it's energy that comes from thought. And so to get that energy going, and when you get that energy going, and I mean, like just by me going like this right now, it gets that energy going, and I'm doing a little dance and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm on it. And so that excitement that when you say, and so your word is powerful, and what the word is articulated thought. So as that articulated thought goes into the word and you say excitement, that what happens is it excites them and it excites us. And so it really gets that momentum going, and that positive, good momentum. Because I could say, hey, do you want to, sell your house? And, nobody's going to say yes, even if they want to really bad. Yeah, because, you're not there. And so that word, that's just a powerful word to use. So, I'm excited for you. And by you translating that to them, actually you become excited, and pretty soon you both become even more excited, and it just goes to bigger and better things.
Oh, absolutely. And what's important is that it's not important whether they want to sell now or in a year. It doesn't matter. The goal, like I said, is to work in such a way that they'll refer me business.
Yes.
So you develop walking billboards.
Yeah, walking
right?
billboards, love that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
develop walking billboards. People are going to rave about you, things like that. And
yeah.
then you just simply teach them throughout the conversations that you have throughout the year is that for them to just please text you or call you with their information so you could reach out to them and provide the service that you provided for them.
Yes. Another magical word you used was this idea of what you wanted to do is have a joyous experience for everybody. And this idea about joy is really one of the highest vibration. It's like God, just right up there with these high vibrations. And ask and you shall receive. So because you're determined and you're deliberate and intentional, saying, I want this to be a joyful experience, what will happen is God will start answering that and provide you thoughts, circumstances, events, the people where it becomes joyous and now it becomes fun. Like people ask me, what do you do for a job? And the job is just over broke. I'm not doing that. And then what do you do for work? And I go, well, I really don't work. And I really don't. I have fun with harmonious and loving and kind people like yourself. And then those that are listening, that they're also getting all that and they're attracted to this. And so it's not just about the money. It is about building your business and everything, but doing it in a joyous way. I mean, it's really magical then. And so you've really created some magical experiences for other people because of that. And like you say, a walking joyful billboard.
Yeah. So I'll give you some insights, things that I say. So for instance, if I happen to be visiting probably more with a woman than a man, I would say something like, well, I would say the same thing, like I'm excited for you, right? Absolutely. And then I would say, so when do you want to go window shopping for homes? When do you have time to go window? What woman does not like to go? My wife does not like to go window shopping, but she's the only one that I know of. Most women like to go window shopping. So when would you like to go window shopping for homes? No commitment. Let's just go look around, have some fun. I'll get you guys on 3 hours. You'll be able to go have lunch, and we'll make it quick, and we'll have so much fun.
That's great. That's great. And now you use another word, fun. And so there it is where, if you just say, yeah, I want to have fun today. I want to have fun with my clients. I want to have fun in the cold calling or opportunity calls. I want to have fun and I want people to say yes and people will like me. And as you pre-pave that it's kind of like us just pre-paving a street, if you will, that's this glorious joyful corridor that we're walking down, and the doors of abundance are just swinging open for us.
That's right.
And that's what
right.
you created, Juan. That is just fantastic.
Oh.
Well, what other advice do you have? Any? We're just about out of time here, but do you have any other advice for us agents, or any other comments that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I'll give you one little script I have.
Okay.
That I think is a critical one. They'll call me and be like, hey, I know you're busy, but blah, 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 right? Or like, hey, you're busy. Number one, I'm never perceived as busy. I'm not busy. Like, I am busy, let's be honest. Like, I have work to do.
Okay.
But when people call and they say, hey, I know you're busy, do you have a minute? My response is, you are my business. I'm not too busy for you. I absolutely have time for you. Share with me what you got going on.
I love it.
And that's important to me. It's important for me because, then, you're taking the fun out. If you're like, I'm not too busy for you. You are my business. How can I help? Right. How can I serve you? Like, These are important concepts. It's important to have your heart for these people,
Yes. And so, and then just a word on that word busy is that whatever you start saying to yourself, that you start becoming, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So for all of us, just a lesson to know is stop saying that I'm busy, because what will happen is you'll get busier and busier and more stressed out and more stressed out.
That's right.
And so it's really a word that you just want to eliminate. And instead of, hey, I'm going to have fun today, I'm going to have joy today.
So true. And then the other thing is what's funny is, I didn't have a normal kind of like college career. Like I played soccer professionally, right? Yes. So you got to understand, when I was 18, I was signed with a professional MLS team in Dallas. I had my own shoe contract, So, at 18, most kids are like in school and things like that. And what I mean by that is, so I was with some of the best athletes in the world. Most of my time there was watching the preparation, was them teaching me how to take care of your body. How do you prepare for the game? You arrive 2 hours before the game. Here's how, and you just watched how different people prepared mentally. You know, you watched how we strategically all week was set up to play against this opponent. You know, like that was one of the things I naturally brought into it that I thought everybody just did it this way was when I got into real estate was that I prepare like a professional athlete, and I still do it, which is this. So try to think about it like a Super Bowl. If you ever watch a Super Bowl, you'll notice the Super Bowl is like what, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah, 5 o'clock, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Dr. Hank. What time does the Super Bowl start?
Yeah, like 6:30
a.m., right? Okay. So let's go over that. The Super Bowl that you watch, the pregame, right?
Yeah.
The pregame. So if the Super Bowl's at 3, the pregame probably starts at 11, right? 11 o'clock. Oh, here come the players arriving into the thing. Okay, there they go. 11 o'clock, they're arriving. You know, 11:30, they're getting taped up. They're, you know, blah, blah, blah. They're going over this team versus that team. Here's what's going on. And you start seeing them stretch in the locker room. You know, you'll see things like someone going on the bike, you know, warming up their legs, going on the bikes. You'll see all sorts of things and they're just mentally going through the process. They're playing that video in their head of success, right? They're talking to themselves, today I'm going to tackle like the best I've ever been. They do their prayers. They do affirmations. They do all of these things. And about 30 minutes before, you start seeing this hoorah, right? There's like, you know, and you just start getting really like just adrenaline into it, right? So now you're just really in the moment. You're really in the moment. You're like you just got it. You've got your adrenaline running. You are ready to give 100% commitment to everything you've done. So an immense amount of preparation just in terms of, and so for me, here's what's that look like. So that was the analogy, but here's what that looks like for me. So when I wake up, I sit down with like a book and have a cup of coffee. I personally like to I will sometimes write down the names of the people I'm going to call, whether I know them or not. I'm going to call this person. I'm going to talk about X. I'm going to talk. And so for me, that does two things. One, financially, that motivates me. I'm like, dang, I got 20 people to call. If 2 of these or 4 of these or 6 of these buy this month, that's really good, right? So I'm like, yeah. So financially, I'm like, that helps me with my goals, right? Financially. And then it helps me think about like, you know, this guy wants to talk about this. This guy wants to talk about, he wants to know X, boom, 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 boom. And I go down my list. So then I start getting excited about talking to so-and-so and what I'm going to say. Well, he's going to ask me about selling his house. He's going to want to know about commissions and how this works and where am I going to be on that, what am I going to say? And I start going over it. And I may review scripts, right? I may review scripts during that time and be like, ooh, I really like this piece. This makes a lot of sense, you know, and I'll just go over different scripts and different concepts and ideas. And so I spend about it, and I'll visualize myself being enthusiastic, energetic, closing 4 times.
Wow.
And for me, that takes anywhere from about 35 minutes to an hour, right?
Wow.
So once that happens, now I'm ready for my calls.
Wow.
You know,
that is great. Yep.
Yeah. So when so that football player, you know what he looks like when the Super Bowl is about to start and they get out onto the field. They're 100%. You know. Right. So here's a concept I think so far as I can see most people failing. When you show up on Sunday to play the game, right? A lot of times it's American concept to say, I'm going to give it 100%, right? But why didn't we give it 100% on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then show up with 100% on Sunday? A lot of times it's the American mindset that I'm going to show up and compete. But what did you do Monday through Saturday so that when you show up 100%, because sometimes 100% is not good enough. Like, this is a strange concept. Like, you can't show up on the day and show up. So as an example, let me give you a perfect example. If you and I went to go give a speech, and I never practiced it, and then I showed up on stage, and I did my best, would that be good enough? The answer is absolutely not, right? I better practice it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, gotten some advice on Thursday, gotten advice on Friday, practiced it multiple times on Saturday, woke up early on Sunday, practiced multiple times, and then done it, right?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so you know, preparation. I just want to be prepared. The upside to it is I don't need to go through so many cold leads in order to generate the business. I go through less cold leads now. So what that does for me and my family is creates more time for me to make less calls. And the people I'm there, I go to bat more for, and I have a bigger heart for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And then this concept, so all this preparation, it really is about preparing. It's this idea about preparing it and preparing it the way you want it. not preparing it the way it was before, what somebody said yesterday, and shut you down or whatever. It's this preparing. And so what I also do is with the people, like I love that you write down everybody's name on this and really and have an objective if there is, an objective for each person, but also to really think about that person and say to yourself, I see this person now with an open mind and an open heart, and he's kind, or she is, kind, and we have a great conversation. Yeah. We both feel great. And so as we start creating the way that we want it, we could just envision oh my gosh, this is going to be such an exciting, great call. I can't wait to hop on. Right. And then you really get fired up, and like your words, excitement, fun, and everything. Well, we are out of time here. This has just been fantastic, Juan. You are the man. And I think the takeaway for me and probably all of us is, you're a man with heart. You also understand that, hey, you need to, do the scripts and understand that, but to understand what's behind those scripts so that you really can be authentic and understand why you're saying it, so you can help people and be able to serve people like you do so effectively. And so with that I thank you for coming here, and we bless you and your family, Bettina and Logan and Sebastian and Ava, and for all of you out there, that we thank you for joining us at Agent Wealth Network, where this is the time for all of us to have more business, become wealthier, and all of that detail you can actually see at dochankwebinar.com. So it's DOCHANK webinar.com if you want to learn more. And then, of course, Juan, you want to leave again how to get a hold of you for all the wonderful information and wealth of knowledge that you can bring us agents. How do we get a hold of you again?
Sure. Cell phone number is the easiest way, 469-231-1057. You can call me or text me. You can even email me, Juan@homestarsellers.com.
That's fantastic, Juan. Thanks so much. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. All the best. We'll see you next week.
Thanks,
Bye.
Dr. Hank. You rock.
Okay. Thank you. You rock, Juan. Bye-bye.